Welcome councillors, staff and gallery to our June meeting of council, which I'm formally opening. And in opening formally the council meeting, we meet here in the spirit of respect, cooperation and collaboration. Collectively, we pay tribute to those who have come before us, the First Nation people, as we seek to grow our understanding, connection and knowledge of their heritage, culture, with respect and unity. We acknowledge the Ngadjuri, Paramount and Kaurna traditional custodians of these lands within the Barossa, and I also acknowledge the European settlers whose customs and traditions have been passed down through 6 generations. May our discussions tonight make a meaningful contribution to our Barossa way of life. Councillors, welcome back, Councillor Priest. Also acknowledge Mr Clinton Jury, the LGA President, who's here to perform, the CEO, not the President, sorry. Yeah. CEO is pretty important because I've got a CEO alongside of me too, so there we go. And also I'd like to acknowledge a couple of new staff members. Catherine, you'll be getting emails from because Catherine's looking after me and she's already been doing a wonderful task. So Catherine, welcome to council. And I understand we have a new member, Kelly. Wave your hand to everybody. Kelly's our new finance manager who's going to take all the pressure off the numbers man down here. So welcome to you both, and you'll find that the Barossa Council's a very great employer, because I've been around a long time, because I can confirm that. So members, we do... have we had an apology from Councillor Troop? She might rock in a moment. Okay, so what we'll do now is move to the confirmation of our meetings held on the 21st of May 2024 at 5:30. So would someone like to move those minutes be accepted? Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Hearn. All in favour? Carried. There is matters arising from the previous minutes. They're there for information. And we now move to item 3.2. And I am going to pass over to Deputy Mayor Schilling.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to ask the LGA CEO for South Australia, Mr Clinton Jury, to come forward and make a very special presentation to our Mayor, who I think it might be the first time in this Barossa Council's history that we've had someone who's had 50 years of continuous service. So I'll hand over to you, Mr Jury. And after the presentation, we'll break shortly for some photographs and then we'll resume our normal meeting.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I trust the microphone is okay. Thank you. It is a very great privilege to stand next to you tonight and make this presentation. I will keep it brief, so because I know we don't want to keep you standing too long, but to celebrate and recognise 50 years is a long time to be doing anything, and we all know in this room, particularly in local government, 50 years is a very long time. But it's a time for someone that can spend that long, clearly is a person who's driven by the best outcomes for their community. And we know that when councils are at their best, our communities are at their best. And I think, Mayor Bim, you typify this. You absolutely do. In the period that I've been with the LGA, you always listen, you're always constructive you're always consistent in the application of your duties, and you are just constantly striving for the best outcomes for your community. And I think local government is a place where people can really do anything if they've got that motivation to work with their community. And for you to start on the tools and now find yourself as mayor over that 50-year journey, I think speaks volume for your energy and your desire to get the best outcomes for those around you. And I know you support the sector, particularly through your work with the Stormwater Management Authority, and that's a broader statewide impact that you're having. I'm told that at some stage your current CEO was actually your boss, and now you're his boss. So I think there's a number of quotes that are in that, but just be careful who you speak to and what happens on the way to the top. But I think that's a wonderful story. And people often ask me, do you have a favourite council, or what makes a good council? And I'm not going to stand here and say Barossa is my favourite council, that would be wrong. But what I say is where a council has a relationship like you have between the mayor and the CEO, it's constructive, it's forward-looking, you don't agree on everything, but you have those conversations, you have them in a respectful way, and that desire to get the best outcome for the people living within the council are always at the very forefront. So that is absolutely something that should be cherished. In thanking you, I think it would be remiss to not say thank you to Cheryl. We know for the 50 years that you've been engaged with local government, BIM, I'm sure the sector has probably come out in front in terms of missing many things, many family celebrations and other bits. I won't go too deep. I don't want to touch on any sore points, but a huge thank you for your support of BIM and all the time that he's no doubt devoted to the sector. We say a huge thank you. We couldn't possibly do justice in saying thank you for all the things you've done, but please accept this certificate on behalf of not just the LGA here in South Australia, but a grateful sector and a grateful community for your tireless service. It's not over yet, it's still going. I know we might be here in another 10 years, who knows, but a huge thank you. In all seriousness, thank you very, very much for everything you've done. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Clinton. Thanks very much for travelling all the way up here today and to pass on, and really appreciate those kind words. And yeah, it has been 50 years, and Cheryl knows the 50 years pretty well because we had our 50th anniversary last year as well. So she's been with me on that journey. But may I say, look, it's been a real joy and it's been a delight. And the people that you come to meet and who you get to associate with. And I think there were some key points that you made in there it's really about just collaboration and working with one another and keeping the doors open of communication and listening and understanding that people have different views, and we just need to continue to work together. But I've been very, very fortunate. There's been some over the 50 years, I can assure you there's been some interesting councils. As an officer, I'd always sort of talk about, when I was an officer, I say, oh, the dream team's in tonight, we've got a council meeting, you know. But now I've changed over, we're the people of vision. So look, sincere thanks, and thanks to all the people within the community, the support that I have received. Martin, I need to acknowledge you because I've seen a lot of different CEOs over the years, and look, without a doubt, you know, we don't always see eye to eye.
You win most of it.
Well, you're a mad Holden man and a few other things. But yeah, so, but seriously, thanks for the support that everyone's given. Past councillors, when I was an officer, and the community, and all of those things, and yeah, special recognition to my lovely wife, and Hayley couldn't be here tonight, and Jared couldn't, but I think Janine's recording this so I can send it to the family. So thanks very much. Really appreciate you coming along, and really appreciate the support that I've had over all these years. But now I may say, more importantly, is the importance that our volunteers play within our community. And it is my pleasure and my privilege, Bill Gransbury. Bill, I don't think you need a lot of introduction, my friend. Dr. Bill, I briefly talked to him about my knee outside and said, but without a doubt, 35 years, Bill, that you've been involved with the Union Chapel as a volunteer and advisor, and just to keep that heritage, that culture, that history of the Union Chapel, which is a special little Union Chapel, you know, it would come together with different denominations, and you've preserved that. You know, it's still an active little area, and you've made a significant contribution to the community, not only as a committee member, but previous Citizen of the Year. So you've been active in our community for a long time, and still very active with your professional background. I know you're retired, but you really haven't, you know. I keep on telling my wife I retired 10 years ago, but she said that's rubbish, so you're in the same boat, aren't you? Still active, really caring for the health in the community, and all of those things over many years. And without a doubt, the building was falling into disrepair back in 1989, and the restoration was commenced. And Bill, you joined, and you was part, and you remained on the committee supporting the restoration and fundraising efforts and its ongoing use. Bill continues to be a champion, looking after the building within the Angaston community, and actively involved right throughout our region. As recently as February, the Angaston and Penrice Historic Society commemoration of 180 years of history of this, the Barossa's oldest public building. And Bill, you gave a presentation on the history and the significance of the Union Chapel. So, Bill, it is on behalf of Council, sincere thanks for your dedication and your commitment to our community, and your very valued contribution of your volunteer hours within our community. So it's a certificate that I present to you.
Nice.
A little bit of thunder.
Just want to say thanks for this presentation. I just want to acknowledge my wife Trish, who I wouldn't be here without her support, and I know the support that partners give to enable us to do these community things. So I'd really like to acknowledge that. So, and thanks for your kind words, Vic. And I'll see you around.
Just while Mr Mayor is returning to his seat, I'd just like to, on behalf of all the elected members here, congratulations and thank you for your ongoing commitment to this council. and I'm sure everybody would be happy for me to say that you're very well respected amongst us in the chamber and also the staff here at the Barossa Council. Thank you for everything you do, and also thank you to Mr Jury for coming and making this very special presentation tonight. It's muchly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and thanks, Clinton. And Bill has left the building, but as he said, he'll see us around because he'll be very active, still doing what Bill does best.
Coming in August.
Yeah. All right, I've got to find me Kinsman glasses. We'll move to item 3.31, which is a notice of motion, removal of trees. And there's a notice of motion with regard to trees at the Nuriokta Bowling Club. And Councillor Hearn, this is your notice of motion to look for a report. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to move the motion. Oh, you want me to speak to it before? What do we do? How do we?
Oh, well, I can get a seconder. And seconded, Councillor Priest. Yes, now you can speak to it, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Nuriokta Bowling Club wanted something along this line with the removal of trees when their green was being done last year. I think, Glenn, I can't remember the time frame for that. But they are now wanting to put a synthetic green in, and of course there are ramifications with roots and that sort of thing with a green. A huge investment of about $300,000, and once that's down, if roots do penetrate, etc., that's going to be a real problem. And I'm aware, I've spoken to Glenn and his staff, that they've been looking at this area for some time, and that when this actually came into vogue, that they would be certainly looking at the situation. So that we can get things moving for the club and for the trees, I'm now asking that we support a motion for the staff to actually look at the removal of the trees so that there won't be any root penetration under the new green, and asking the staff to do a report for replacement trees and tidy up that whole area for parking, because it's a bit like a dog's breakfast. But we just ask you to support that for what the club are doing. We're supporting the club as far as finance goes through the LGA, and so therefore it's important to us that it be successful and that there's no ramifications 5 or 6 years or 10 years down the track. So I'd ask you that you support that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hearn. Councillor Priest?
No, I think the conference report says most of it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
So that's it.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder for a report to come back to council and make that decision. Councillor Greatwich.
I just wanted to be clear that the wording of the motion, just to be very clear, that it's that the staff prepare a report and that report includes consideration of replacing the trees with something suitable. The wording, I think, could just be very slightly changed to be very clear that it is just the totality of the report that will be brought back to council for consideration. And then I just wanted to query whether 1 month was sufficient to produce that report, or whether perhaps, given end of financial year has much consideration on trees, but whether that time frame is sufficient.
Time frame's fine and correct. That's what Mr. Carter and his team will do.
Yep. Any further comments? All those in favour? Carried. Have another notice of motion. And that's the Barossa Hospital on page 19. Councillor Priest?
Yes, I'd like to move this. It was very... Do you want me to speak to it?
Just briefly, look, sorry, what was that?
I will get a second, yeah. Councillor Hearn, I've got you now, carry on, Councillor, please, sorry.
It was disappointing when I came back from overseas to see the state budget. It had no mention of the Barossa Regional Hospital, which was very disappointing. And in fact, there was a good letter in the Leader last week from a resident in regards to the state government can spend money on football programs, golfing programs, sporting buildings, but it can't spend money or build a hospital which is sorely needed in the Barossa Valley. All these other things don't save lives, where hospitals do save lives. So I'm just commenting on what was written in the Leader. So, and it was a very good article that was in the Leader by that person, and I commend that person on that article. So I'm just asking for bipartisan support in the Mayor writing a letter to the Premier calling for a regional hospital in the Barossa as urgent.
Councillor Hearn?
Yes, Mayor, as many of the chamber know, that I've been involved with the Angus Hospital way back further than Noah, but I was I was on the board for 8 years, and the hospital was in vogue then, and the political parties, because of, I guess, the makeup of our electorate, have really chosen to just give it lip service, and I think it would be prudent that now would be a good time for just a broad letter to let the government know, despite what they've done in the area anyway. But in this particular case, it is important. Health is important, and a couple of our councillors have been talking about the hospital, etc. So I just support Bruce's comment, or Councillor Priest's comments.
Councillor De Vries?
Yeah, naturally I'll be supporting this motion. I don't think there'd be a single human being in the Barossa that wouldn't. I was just curious, where is the state government in regards to the hospital? Because I would assume that they are trying to...
Well, my understanding is that there's money still in the budget to purchase the land, and they're still working through the process of purchasing the land. So until they purchase the land, they won't build the hospital. But there's money from the previous budgets which has been carried over to purchase the land. So the letter that we can send can highlight the fact that we appreciate the fact that the money's been carried over. I don't think we need to get down in the gutter and go over the history, because the state government's been very supportive of this council. And yes, hospitals and healing is very important. I can tell you how important it is at the moment with my knee. But apart from that, sporting facilities are healthy as well, so they all play a part in our community.
So they are still actively pursuing this as far as you... Yeah, and I agree with you, Your Worship, that I think you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar, so, yeah.
I'll sign a very good letter, I'm sure. Any further comment? All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. My understanding, just for a quick update, is that in an informal sense is that the detailed business case, Councillor De Vries, is before government at the moment for consideration for the hospital, so we're just waiting. Thank you.
If there's no further comment, all those in favour? Carried.
Just through the chair, could you make a note when you sign a letter to the Premier that the council decision was a unanimous decision?
Oh, the council decision is a decision, yep. Mayor's report on page 22. Any questions that you may have?
Move the report be received.
Move Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Lane. Either one wish to speak?
No, unless you've got something you want to share.
I just might add very briefly, and I'll put more detail in the report next month, but the CEO and I had an opportunity to meet with the local government minister. I think it was last week. We had probably good hour, well over an hour discussion about a number of different things which is relevant, with the recent work that's been done as far as the local government and the elections and things like that. We talk generally about local government, and he is very receptive. I did take the opportunity to talk about boundary reform and how there ought to be a more holistic approach to it, and he is welcoming any further conversations that we have with our adjoining mayors, and will be fully supporting anything that comes forward in the future. So I'll deal with that a little bit further in the next report, but I just thought I'd let you know that we did have a very productive meeting with the Minister, and he's very enthusiastic about local government. Those in favour? Carried. Page 23 is the Deputy Mayor's Councillor Schilling's report on page 23. Any questions? Thanks again for filling in for me, and the feedback I also got was very highly regarded and well received by everybody that attended, so well done. Someone like to move the councillor report? The Councillor Greatwich, and seconded Councillor Barrett. Either one wish to speak to it? All those in favour? Carried. Councillor Troop has a report there on page 24. Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Greatwich. Either one wish to speak? All those in favour? Carried. There's some matters for information, and if there's nothing, any action from those, we'll move on to the debate report, which is on page 124, which is the review of public submissions and final adjustments to the annual business plan and budget for the 2024-25 financial year, on page 124. Any questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yep, Councillor Hearn.
I've been speaking to the CEO about part of it regarding the cabins in the Centennial Park, and I think that's part of. Am I in the right report? Yeah. So when that comes to hand, I'd like to sort of talk about that.
All right. Any further comments? Councillor De Vries moved and seconded Councillor Schilling. Either one wish to speak to it? No. Okay. Councillor Schilling? Councillor Hearn, do you want to say anything more?
Yes. The staff, with the things that are going on in the with the budgets, with everything that we're doing, and now with the culture hub coming into the picture as well, as a member of the board of Centennial Park, we had in our budget 2 new cabins and 2 new cabins, and the staff have advised that they would not recommend that at this point in time. But as a board, we thought we've got plans for the future, like the council have plans going into the future, and we had to build our status with Big Four and the general public. We wanted to bring it up to the family situation, which is quite a rise from what we have done. That would help our income, our standing in the Big Four circuit throughout Australia for what we would be offering. And if we went ahead with these cabins, we wouldn't be doing it straight away. We'd do it in the next financial year when we'd have enough cash. So it wouldn't be a drain on the actual coffers. The CEO might say that it's a bit tight, but and the staff on the financial side of it. But we've been working on this for some time, and we would like that re-included into the budget to say yes, we could do it if we have the money there and pay the cash. The forward planning for the board and income is on line with what we are projecting. And I think we've talked about that at the audit committee as well, the park audit committee. And I think it's important that we can't pay the loan off with the LGA. That's on I think there's another 6 years to go for that. And if we get out of that, there's penalties. So we could start to pay it off quicker, but the long-term plan is that we can't do that. So hence, if we're doing what we would like to do once the C block is finished, that will lift our standing and the income we can charge more for the things that are happening. So I personally think that it's important that these new cabins go in. We can sell the old ones to replace them at some stage, but until they're up and built, then we can disperse with them. And I think some of the cabins previously went out to our park at Mount Pleasant. But I personally think the board thinks it's advisable that we go ahead with it, despite what's going on. We would have the finance for it, and I just think I just seek councillors' support for this. That it may be, I'm not sure how the CEO feels. It's not in the long-term plan that we had initially when the CEO was on the board, but things change, like the projects that we've got that have come to the fore. So I think this is important for the longevity of the park, so that we improve our status in that particular area. So I just ask you perhaps get the cabins reinstated into the budget, and that we can move forward if and when necessary in the next financial year.
I guess, councillor, you mentioned the staff have excluded it, but I think the rest of the chamber, we did talk about it in workshops, but I'll seek clarification from the CEO as to what the numbers and what the impact will be.
Those two weren't, because they actually didn't go through the process because they weren't given to us at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So these were never actually in the budget. They're not in the long-term financial plan. They are new assets, and the original approval for the business case of around $2.5 million, if the upgrade was on the condition of repaying the debt. There has been other investments. It's up to the council whether it improves it, but it will reduce the cash because it all gets conglomerated together. So the budget for NCPA capital budget this year is $175,000. That's been allocated to, or proposed to be allocated to, the community infrastructure for the light replacement. This is new spending. This is not replacement of existing assets.
Councillor De Vries.
Can I ask a question without closing the debate? Yes. Okay. So how will this impact the budget as it currently stands? Is the park going to raise this money itself, or are they...
It'll require more borrowings.
Okay. Is there any reason why does this have to happen tonight, or could this be done next month or the month after, if it's not going to affect the bottom line other than the borrowings?
It can be done at any time. If we do put it in, you'll need to give me an authority to amend the budgets. My argument would be that these haven't gone through the tests that all the others have.
And I'm carefully not going to comment, but I guess that trying to phrase it as a question. Okay, I'll let it go.
I might ask the question then briefly. Then it could be something with our first quarterly review that could be considered at that point in time.
Correct, Mr Mayor. But council can change the budget whenever it wants.
Yep. And then you'll have more information rather than a... Yeah, okay. Councillor Priest.
Yeah, just a question on page attachment 1, on page 135, in regards to a resident who wrote in. Just a question to the CEO, because I believe you're still on the school board. You're on the school board, is that correct? You're no longer on the school board? Okay. But it says about a footpath that's on the Nurriupta High School side of the road. There is a footpath on the other side. Children can use that, but children being children, walking along that where that drainage is, and kids with their mobile phones and ear plugs in their ears and they're not paying attention to what's going on, which is quite normal. I was just thinking maybe the CEO or the mayor just write a note to the school board or the school principal saying that could you notify parents to tell their children not to walk on that side of the road until we can actually do something with that footpath? Do you see that letter?
Mr.
About the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer that? Thanks, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Priest. No, I removed myself from that board last month.
Oh, okay.
There's 6 days a week is enough working after hours. And that was in the last agenda when you were on leave. So just yes, so that whole thing has been wrapped up in the whole transport study that we did last year, and we're still waiting for transport to come back to us. So it doesn't recommend that that's actually a treatment, but I can certainly just raise the issue. But that transport study, I think we've actually got the comments back from transport now, so we'll be able to bring it back and talk to the school and council about what it's recommending. And it certainly is, for recollection, it's not recommending that as a priority piece of infrastructure.
I think a letter to the principal or school board to just remind parents to advise the children where they should walk. Okay, thank you.
And Councillor Priest, that can possibly be teased out once we get that study and everything else to go forward. Councillor Greatwich.
Thank you. I just have a question in relation to the $30,000 that's been allocated to Barossa Australia. I just wanted to clarify that on page 127 it says that that funding is allocated to the China market re-entry, and obviously that's critical and very important. Just wanted to clarify because Scott Hazeldene's correspondence on page 134 says that the funding will be used to support regional marketing initiatives to drive visitation to the region, and then key specific projects designed to drive demand for the region and its products. And I assume that that is referring to the China market re-entry. I just wanted to be clear about that because they seemed, I'm not in opposition to the funding at all. I just wanted to be clear how it was being allocated.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Greywich. The conversation I had with Mr Hazeldine around that was it's still a little bit early because the money that was released at state level and there wasn't any at federal level is still being, and again, this is not my area of full expertise at the moment, but it's still being fully evaluated as to what potential access to funding that they'll have, but they'll have much less than they first anticipated. I think it was about 90,000. They were hoping to get at least 180. So I said, well, we're in consultation period, so you could put the model back, and we've helped with this sort of stuff before. My absolute understanding is that it will be about China back into the market, including tourism market. But what I can do as a result of that also is just make sure that we get a very detailed project plan, which when they've got it, I won't release funding until, subject to you guys approving it, I won't release funding until they know they've got the matching funding and they have a program.
Great. Thank you.
And I can table that as matters for arising from minutes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, another question, Your Worship, and this relates to the same issue that Councillor Priest raises in regards to that open drain. I know that Murray Street is a state road, but that gutter is our responsibility, isn't it?
Do you want to answer that one, or would you like me to, Mr.
I know
Mayor?
these things get weird, but
It's actually really simple. It's a state road, but anything outside the white post, they won't pay for.
Okay, that's what I was... And so if we were to, in fact, enclose it, can you give me a hint as to what sort of cost we'd be looking at? I suspect it's significant, but I'm phrasing this as a question.
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't get much change out of well over $1 million.
That's sort of where I was thinking, yeah.
Just a quick question. Did not the State Roads Department just recently upgrade the bike path on that side of the road? So therefore it is making it a little bit safer for people. So I don't know if the rest of the chamber are aware, but there has just recently been some works there to upgrade.
Councillor De Vries, you want to close the debate?
The debate is closed.
All those in favour of the motion? Carried. Page 148, 7.2.2, which is the monthly finance report. Any questions? There's a recommendation there. Moved Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Hearn. Either one wish to speak to it? Any comments? Councillor Barrett.
Very brief comment. The first time I've ever seen our capital expenditure at this time of year over the 100%. So well done to staff to spending the money that quick. Well done.
Absolutely. Well done. All those in favour? Carried. 7.2.3 on page 151 is the fees and charges register for 2024-2025 as per attachment 1. Any questions? Comment or motion there? Councillor Hearn and seconded Councillor De Vries. Either one wish to speak? All those in favour? Carried. 7.2.4 is the adoption of the annual business plan and budget for 2024-25 financial year, incorporating the long-term financial plan for the financial years 2024-25 to 2033 and 2034. 164. CEO, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As I communicated out to members with a late set of valuations that popped in our in-tray yesterday, I'll just point out a couple of variations to the plan. They're completely minor, but the growth has gone from 0.43 to 0.46 because we picked up 5 extra properties. As you've got with the addendum report, there's an increase in the valuations of 1.587 million, which ultimately in nearly 800 million is not really significant. And it does make some very minor tweaks to the overall percentages in the 2 tables that we are statutory put in. And we dropped $992 worth of revenue. Fundamentally, that's because the properties moved from vacant land to residential. Vacant land we rate at a higher rate, so when they move to residential, you drop a little bit of revenue. 992 in 30x a million is insignificant. So we'll put those notes, and we did release updates into the web and online and out the front as quickly as we could.
Thank you for that clarification. Councillor De Vries.
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Hearn. Either one wish to speak to it?
No, this is the end of a very long journey.
Councillor Hearn? No further comments? All those in favour? Carried. Absolutely.
So that was recommendation 1. That is recommendation. Okay, I'm happy to move recommendation
1, yep. I better get on the right page. 164. Recommendation 1. It's all done. Yep.
Could I just please clarify, Mr Mayor?
Yes. Yep.
And Councillor De Vries, you are happy with the altered resolution, so I can update those valuations?
So we now move to recommendation 2. Moved and seconded Councillor Schilling. Thank you. Either one wish to speak?
Not much point doing 1 without 2.
2, that's right. All those in favour? Carried. Page 231, which is the adoption of the valuations for 2024-2025 financial year rating purposes. And I think we had a different document that come out earlier this morning. that correct, CEO?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. That is that slightly revised valuation and adjustments that lobbed in conveniently Monday when they shouldn't have, but they did. So well done to the staff for turning that around in a few hours.
Any questions? There's a recommendation there. Councillor Barrett, moved Councillor Barrett, seconded Councillor De Vries. Councillor Barrett? Councillor De Vries? No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Page 233, which is the declaration of the differential general rates for the 2024-25 financial year. Report 7.2.6 on page 233. Any questions? So various categories. Councillor Angus moved and seconded Councillor De Vries. Councillor Angus, Councillor De Vries.
Yeah, if we didn't do this, then our ratepayers would get whacked because they'd be stuck with last year's rate. And since we're dropping it, I think we should.
Absolutely. No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. On page 236. Is the declaration of the fixed charge for 2024-2025 financial year, with the fixed charge which is fixed at $438. Councillor Hearn moved and seconded Councillor De Vries. Wish to speak to it, either one? No further comment?
Yeah, I'll let you make a comment. We often get people coming to the council and saying, why can't we have a flat rate in the dollar for every property? And in fact, this fixed charge sort of goes part of the way towards doing that. So it's sort of, we're kind of evening it out a little bit where, yes, there is a rate in the dollar which varies depending on the level of property, but there is a minimum that's also being required as well. So I think this sort of is a good balance as a result. And I think sometimes people forget that.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favour? Carried. 7.2.8 is the declaration of the waste collection service charges for the 2024-2025 financial year on page 238. Any questions? Yep. Yep. You happy to move, Councillor Greatwich? Thank you. Move Councillor Greatwich and seconded Councillor Evans. Either one wish to speak? I think we've workshopped that all pretty well. All those in favour? Carried. Page 240 is the declaration of the Community Wastewater Management Systems rate and service charges for 2024-2025 financial year, with those fixed charges set out in the recommendation accordingly. Any questions? Mover and a seconder. Councillor Greatwich and seconded Councillor Thompson. Either one wish to speak to it? No further comments. All those in favour? Carried. Page 242, declaration of the Regional Landscape Levy for 2024-2025 financial year. Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Greatwich. All those in favour? Carried. Payments of rates for the 2024-2025 financial year, 244, page 244, which sets out the... Councillor Priest?
So moved.
So moved. and seconded councillor Angus. Either one wish to speak to it?
No.
No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. We'll move on to infrastructure and environmental services, which is the proposed road closure for the MSS Safety Rally Barossa on page 246. It's an annual event. Move councillor Angus. Seconded councillor Hearn. Either one wish to speak to it? No. Any comments? Councillor Barrett.
I'd just like to make comment. I do note there are 2 evening stages, one from 6:45 to 10:45, and the other one from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And from speaking to various ratepayers, they're not real happy about the nighttime events with the livestock around the place, and roos and the like. And I've got a bit of pushback from down south. So I'll just sort of bring it to people's attention, because I read all these reports how they encourage people to spend locally. I don't know they're going to spend locally at 10:30 when everything's closed. Doesn't quite fit from what I'm reading, but yes, I can see it's a good event overall, but there are a few negatives. I don't know if other councillors picked up that there are a couple of evening stages in there that haven't been there before. So I'll just mention that for the information of people.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Evans.
Oh, look, just quickly to add to what Councillor Barrett just said, at a personal note, from someone who lives in that sort of area, I was driving last night at 10 o'clock at night through those back roads, and I think I dodged 7 roos. And that's at night because they're out and they're starving. So I just hope no one gets injured, that's all. But I think it's a brilliant event. I just cross my fingers.
Yeah, all I can probably highlight is that these rally drivers are pretty good, and they've got a fair amount of lights, and yeah, look, I guess if a roo gets hit, it's probably one less they got a cull. So, and I shouldn't say that, but there we go. But yeah, I know. Yeah, look, yeah, they make a lot of noise, so yeah. But and I think what we've found in the past, that where we've had pushback, where the events have been the following year, we then modify it accordingly. So that might be the thing that you might want to consider in future. Any further comments?
I'll just add to Councillor Barrett. Is there any chance that if this happens next year, that we can say to these people to hold the rally to finish at 9 p.m. or something like that instead of late into the evening?
You can do anything like that, yes.
Or could we move an amendment now, or is it too late?
Oh, well, you can move an amendment and do anything like that, but, you know, it's just, well, CEO,
Don?
what's your thoughts?
Mr Mayor, ultimately the police will make the decision. All we're doing is responding to the police.
Yeah, that's
but
a
yes,
valid
you
point.
can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don, would you like me to move an amendment to have it shut it down? No? Oh, okay. All right. Then I won't move an amendment then.
All right.
Well, I promise that we will raise it with the organisers.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Angus.
As the proposer, can I close the...
Yes, you can. Yep.
These rallies have been held at night since, well, I rallied in the 1970s, and we used to rally starting at 6 p.m, and we wouldn't finish till 4 o'clock in the morning. And they went all around South Australia and even up into Broken Hill. Yes, there can be some very short-term inconvenience, but I think for the benefit of those participating and those spectating, and I think there is some not insignificant economic benefit. So I don't think we should be shutting them down. That's not our job. Call the council, we'll shut them down.
Thank you, councillor. That closes the debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Page 250. which is the proposed road closure for Thunder in Tanunda, 250. Councillor Greatwich.
I was happy to move it.
Moved Councillor Greatwich, seconded Councillor De Vries. Councillor Greatwich, you speak to it?
Only to note that I cannot believe that this is the first time that I've ever seen an event that uses that fantastic rhyming. I'm stunned, actually. I think it's wonderful. The pendant in me can't believe they didn't spell it with an ER, but we're going to let that slide because the rhyme really works. So. Somebody trademarked it.
I'm traditionally a poor speller, so... yeah. Councillor De Vries.
I'm very impressed by the way the organisers have put this together. I like the idea that also between races there's an opportunity for the locals to access their properties and so forth, which I think is a reasonable compromise. I'm sure there will be some in the township who will skip reading that section of it and get very upset, and then over half a beer I'll explain to them what's going on and they'll be happy again. So, well, then I'll have to move on to the next one for the other half of it.
Thank you, Councillor De Vries. Yeah, I'm pleased it's a cycle race. I know the CEO always wants motors on motorbikes, but this is another cycling race. Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 7.4.1 is the Building Fire Safety Committee membership on page 254. With some recommendations there to make up the membership of the Building Fire Safety Committee for the Barossa Council. Councillor Priest? Moved. Councillor Barrett, second. Any comments?
Procedural matter, that's all.
All those in favour? Carried. Page 258, the review of the Dog and Cat Management Act 1995. There's a draft bill submission. Page 258. With a recommendation as per the draft bill contained in attachment 1. Any questions? Councillor Schilling moved and seconded. Councillor Evans. Either one wish to speak to it?
Having been a victim of a recent attack by dogs on my own dogs, I'm very happy to see these enforcements be increased. So
Okay.
I'm highly recommend it.
Thank you. Councillor Evans, you want? No. All those in favour? Carried. Page 278 is the deed of variation for the Commonwealth Home Support Program, 7.4.3. Any questions? Councillor Angus and seconded Councillor De Vries. Either one wish to speak? No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Members, that now concludes that portion of the meeting, which we now will need to go into confidential reports, and the confidential reports will be the CEO's performance review, outcomes and remuneration review, and the Creative Industry Centre tender for architectural engineering and another technical service and construction governance model. So thank you, gallery. Thank you. Now before we go into confidence, yes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have to declare a conflict of interest and shall leave the meeting after you've had any opportunities to ask any questions in confidence, subject to the passing of the resolution in confidence. Obviously, all other staff will leave, so remember to take the minutes, please, sir.
Oh, yes, I've got to do that, don't I? Okay. Yes.
And I will leave the meeting
Yes.
after any questions, before any debate commences.
So we'll move into confidence with the CEO staying. Move, Councillor. Hang on, I've got to write all this now. And seconded? Councillor Schilling. All those in favour? Carried. Yeah. Oh, are we out and in and, okay. Councillors, I need to now move into confidence for the Creative Industry Centre tender and architectural engineering and other technical services. Moved Councillor DeVries, seconded Councillor Schilling. All those in favour, we go into confidence. Thank you. Councillors, that concludes our June addenda. Our next ordinary meeting is scheduled for July. So with that, I'll formally close the June meeting. Thank you for your attendance and your input.
Now, Mr.